So I am very honored again to welcome the world #1 expert and one of the best mentor of me and GamFed Turkey community, Chou, this time to make the opening speech. Yukai, welcome, my friend.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure to. Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here. As mentioned, I have a long history with the organization, and just very excited to help the new generation go through the journey that I went through, starting from 2003. So I've been in the space of gamification for about 20 years now. So it's pretty crazy. And I think today my main talk will be about a gamified future powered by fun. And so just a quick background myself. Again, I started my journey into gamification in 2003. So it made me one of the earlier pioneers in the industry. Wrote a book called Actionable Gamification, published a framework. And my design work, we've did some calculation and we saw that it has empowered over 1 billion user experiences throughout the years with many, many clients. And I've taught my framework, the Altyazılı framework, which I'll share if you haven't seen it before, at places like Stanford, Yale, Oxford University, Google, Tesla, IDEO, a variety of places. From a VR, AR, metaverse standpoint, I was also for a while the head of creative labs and head of digital commerce for HTC. And from a blockchain NFT standpoint, I was also a chief experience officer for one of the co-founders of Ethereum, Anthony Diorio. And so was very happy to have this journey in gamification. And as mentioned, I also have a Web3 project myself called Metablogs, et cetera, et cetera. And this is my book called Actionable Gamification. We sold a little over 100,000 copies around the world since I published it. So I think it's very good that people are inspired by some of the work I've been doing and helping. And I think the talk today, I'm going to talk about some of the foundational things that I think people expect me to talk about, my framework. But I think it's really to inspire hope about where this can take you and how your work in gamification can really improve society and make things a better place. And I run a consultancy and design company called the Altyazılı Group. And we see that more and more companies are coming to us saying, hey, of course, every company needs gamification, and that's why we need your help. So companies are recognizing that gamification before and even now, it's still a competitive advantage. And then in the future, companies will have to do it just to survive. And of course, we always suggest companies doing something when it gives you a competitive advantage, as opposed to just surviving. Just like having a website maybe 20 years ago was something that, or maybe 25 years ago was a competitive advantage. And obviously now, if you don't have a website, you can't really be in much business. So you can see there's a variety of companies and startups that have worked with us, applying it in a lot of traditional businesses. You can see that pretty high profile people, VP at Google, I'm not going to read the quotes, partner executive director at IDEO, or even like traditional insurance company like AIG. They all talk about, gamification has done quite a high value for what they're doing, or they're very interested in what we're doing. And also one of my most passionate projects also is something called Altyazılı Prime. So it's basically a gamified platform to learn about gamification. So there's a lot of people who have read my book maybe 2 or 3 times. They're like, okay, what's next? And I feel like it's interesting because oftentimes it doesn't matter if I'm doing a 20-minute talk or 1-hour speech or 5-hour workshop or a 5-day workshop. I always have to start from the beginning and cover the same foundations and then try to push as far as I can. It's almost like those old arcade games. I don't know if many of your audience have seen those these days, but you start playing the game. It doesn't matter how far you go. The next time you play, you start from stage 1 again. And later on, more advanced games comes in. You can save your progress and you keep going. So this is just a journey of me sharing everything that I have learned onto a gamified platform. And there's a reason why I haven't published my second book yet. Hopefully today or this year I'll do that. But it's because I made 1,200 videos on gamification, behavioral design, entrepreneurship, everything I've learned onto this platform. It's like downloading my brain. And what's interesting about this is that the engagement is quite high. We have a DAU over MAU of 38%. So daily active user over monthly active user. What that means is if you at least come to learn a little bit, right? You're a monthly active user, come once a month. There's a 38% chance that you come in every single day. And Netflix for the time being was a golden rate standard at 42% DAU or MAU. But Netflix is all about addictive cliffhangers and drama, whereas this one is just staring in my face every day, teaching gamification. So, but anyway, so we're gonna jump into, again, what I'm most known for, something called the Octalysis framework, and it's something that I published in 2012, and it's the crystallization of many years of playing games, 10,000 hours of playing games, and really refusing for those hours to be wasted to become nothing and just a hobby. So it's like, hey, I want to apply the things that I've learned in games. And why are people so engaged in games when they know they're not getting a lot of real life value from it? And then there's things that people know they should do to get real life value, like exercising, eating healthily, learning, studying, doing work, but people just don't want to do it. And so that's when I started creating the journey of applying that. So this Octalysis from, it's called the Octalysis because it's a combination between the word octagon and analysis. And inside there's the 8 core drives that empower all our behavior. So everything we do is based on one or more of these 8 core drives, which means that if there's none of these 8 core drives there's zero motivation, no behavior happens. And then outside, there's an example list, not exhaustive list, just example list, variety of game design techniques that can bring out those 8 core drives. And one thing that's also very blessed for me to say is that when I published the framework in 2012, I just wanted to create a tool that could solve problems, help clients, help myself. I was intellectually curious. I really didn't have any ambitions in academia. But now if you go to Google Scholar and you search for the word Octalysis, actually now it's, I think, 2,200 now, but you'll see over 2,000 PhD thesis academic journals just applying the Octalysis framework to a variety of things. Like here, it's student core drives on e-learning during COVID-19, or human factors and quality management, et cetera, et cetera. So just getting very blessed that just something I did just out of interest and curiosity stands strong in the academic world. So we're going to quickly go through those 8 core drives, but I'm not going to spend too much time on each of them because I have other talks out there, a lot of things online that you can check it out. But what I want to do is I want to showcase an example in the world that uses this core drive pretty straightforwardly, and it actually generates results, ROI, that's measurable. So every core drive will come with an example that has some numbers to show how well this core drive made something successful. And so core drive 1 is epic, meaning, and calling. It's doing something bigger than ourselves. So this is the core drive about things like honor, justice, it's saving the world, it's sustainability, helping poverty. It's also things like patriotism, some people like religion or faith or politics. And one example is Ant Financial / Alipay. So this is a payments app in China. And when you think about payments, it doesn't sound that fun, right? It sounds very transactional. I transact money to you and you get money, that's it. And that's what we call a function-focused world. And what we want to create is a human-focused world. So this Ant Financial Alipay created kind of like a game interface where as you do transactions, you send payments, you start to accumulate this game currency and you can plant virtual trees. But more importantly, you can plant real trees in the real world. And we see that as of August 2021, 326 million trees were planted in China because of this Alipay Ant Forest. So as far as my limited knowledge on sustainability, I think 326 million extra trees in the world helps everyone in the world and helps the climate and all that stuff. So it's very powerful. And the key thing is when you have an app like this, you are less motivated, less likely to want to use another app, right? Because the other app just helps you do transactions. But when you use this, you feel like you're saving humanity. You're being a hero in this world. And so that creates more engagement and more sustainability. You'll see later, there's gamified techniques that drive short-term obsession or addiction. And then there's some gamified techniques that drive long-term sustainable interest and passion. Core drive 2 is development and accomplishment. So this is pretty straightforward. This is basically you're doing something because you are improving yourself, you're leveling up, you're achieving mastery. And most of the points and badges we see in a lot of gamified systems, they fall into this core drive. because points are really just counters, right? Mathematical counters. They show a sense of progression. But so even though you're seeing this, you're doing the same activity over and over and over again, hey, at least you see this this number going higher and higher, or this progress bar growing. And so you feel like you're getting somewhere. And badges are what we call achievement symbols. They symbolize a sense of accomplishment. And achievement symbols can be in many different forms. It could be badges, could be about trophies, crowns, uniform changes, black belt, white belt in terms of martial art. And of course, that was also applied to factory management in Six Sigma. But the key thing is that it must symbolize an accomplishment. If you give people a badge for every silly thing they do, then it's just the icon, right? It has no meaning. It's like I'm not in kindergarten. I don't need a gold sticker for like making my first friend or surviving day 1 instead of surviving day 3. You have to design it so that these icons actually represent achievement, accomplishment in it. So easy example is Strava. Strava is a exercise workout app, and we all know that exercising, health is important, but our brains don't like to process long-term benefits. We like short-term gratification. So apps like Strava tell you, hey, you know, you are running a bit better than last week. This is how you're growing. This is how you're improving. And so as of 2021, 95 million active users have done 22 billion exercise activities. And also, obviously, they see a lot of value because this app actually made $167 million in revenue of that year. What's crazy, if you're a huge company, maybe that number seems just okay. But what's crazy is that that number is 70% higher than last year, which was around 70% higher than the year before. So this is almost doubling in revenue every year because people really love this type of gamified exercise to track their growth. Core Drive 3 is empowerment of creativity and feedback. So this is the drive that's more about self-expression, about meaningful choices. It's about autonomy. And you'll later see this is on the right top of the octagon, which means it's what we call a white hat, right brain intrinsic type of motivation. It's one of the longest lasting motivation that every timeless game has. And a lot of it is about meaningful choices and, you know, choosing skins in games, customizing things, all fall into the core drive. And this is a project that we designed for Porsche in Europe. And so Porsche came to us and the whole Volkswagen family, but our first project was on Porsche. And they want to create a loyalty program to engage their audience. And what they noticed is that the customers, while they really love their Porsche, they don't interact with the company very much, right? It's like there's not a lot of touch point. Usually when you do, there's something wrong, you want some kind of support, or it's time to buy a new car, which is many years later. So they wanted to create ongoing engagement with customers. So we've designed the experience called Boneo, which is first of all, to quote unquote play this game, you need to own the Porsche. And then based on how you drive your car, you get different types of rewards, and also how you interact with other Porsche owners who have the app. You get a variety of rewards, including helping you upgrade to your next car more easily in the whole Volkswagen family, because they also have Bentley, they have Bugatti and all those things. So this was a fun design where you customize your car. You can do a lot of strategies and meaningful choices. And we saw that on the pilot they did in Austria when they launched it, users spent 5.5 minutes in that every single day. And they were not allowed to use the app while they were driving or moving the vehicle. So it's before or after driving, they're playing with the app, they're customizing their profile. And, you know, like I said, most car companies, they don't get to interact with their customers even for 5 minutes a month. And this is 5.5 minutes every single day, which shows strong engagement, and people really like that. Core Drive 4 is ownership and possession. So this is the drive that is about owning something, collecting something, or customizing, so you feel more attachment and ownership over that experience and whatnot. And one of the strongest examples in the world is about collection set designs, where if you go to a McDonald's or some store, you buy something, give you a piece of a puzzle, and when you get all the collectibles, you have a major reward. But the case study I want to show is actually one of the most impressive gamification case studies in the industry, and it's actually done by one of the sponsors of this event, Funny Fire. And so the founder of Funny Fire in 2014 came to San Francisco and took my workshop, and we struck up a deal that they can apply all the gamified concepts of the Octalysis framework, which is what I'm sharing today, into the Funny Fire platform. And so over the years, they got better and better, and more of those 8 core drives are implemented to it. And so then they were invited by Caixa Econômica Federal in Brazil to improve their recurring income. And it was a crazy project. My mind is still blown how they pulled it off, because the bank, Caixa Econômica Federal, they were the number 2 largest public bank in Brazil. And they needed to gamify the whole work experience for 83,000 employees at 4,500 locations. They need to tie every employee's work into some kind of gamified KPI system. And there were 70 plus silo systems that track, CRMs that track the activities. And then more crazily, they had 3 months to launch the project. And the goal was to increase recurring revenue by income by 5%. But what they come up with is very complex, but the core of it is a collection set design, where as employees do their work, they will randomly generate, let's say, a fourth of a TV or 1/2 of a coffee machine. And if you collect all the parts, you can get a major reward. And what was crazy about it was they actually quickly reached the goal of increasing recurring revenue income by 5%. And at the end, they increased by 46%, which was the equivalent of $800 million in 9 months. And because of that, Caixa rose from the number 2 public bank in Brazil to the number 1 public bank in Brazil because of this gamification, the design. And at the time, so Ricardo's the founder, and he said he had some previous classmates who worked at the largest bank at the time, and they saw the numbers, they were shocked, they called him, and he's like, oh yeah, it's because we applied, gamification design to a lot of these things. So you can see $800 million changing the ranking of a bank. What you're doing here with gamification, if you do it well, can truly make a huge impact in this world. Core Drive 5 is social influence and relatedness. So this is basically saying whatever you do based on what other people do, think, or say. So it's things like competition, collaboration, gifting, group quest, stuff like that. And this goes into another project that we designed for basically a division of Procter & Gamble in Eastern Europe. This should be a Polish language here. And they also wanted to motivate their door-to-door sales staff to basically, they had to go to a retail store and say, hey, it seems like you have used up all your Procter & Gamble products to sell. So why don't you reorder from us, the distributor, and you can get more. So the issue is that these sales, obviously knocking door to door is usually not a very engaging job. And also the salespeople saw each other as their biggest competitors. So they don't tend to work together, help each other. So we designed something called Adventures of the Endless Sea. And so each salesperson actually is basically a previous century, like 14th century merchant seller. And he has his boat that he can upgrade as time goes on. But everyone has this town. And so for everyone's character in the town, there's basically health and wealth. Health is based on whether you do KPI activities, if you're trying to sell, trying to be educated, do more training programs. And then your wealth is if you close deals, you sell, you generate wealth. So not only do they personally have this type of this health and wealth, they also have a town that can generate health and wealth too. So, well, if no one does KPI activity, then the health of the town gets lower and people are getting sick. And if they close deals, then they generate more wealth and they can build more buildings. So now it becomes a team project where people have to work together to make this a better place. And as you know, they can upgrade their ships down the road, which is what we call a booster design, where the salespeople actually get feedback faster. Once they make the sale, it's in the system. They need a few hours to know that they made the sale. But when they upgrade their ships, they actually find out that they made the sale much, much earlier. And so this design was also a published case study. And so they did sales. So sales and training KPI activities went up by 59%. Sales revenue went up by 28.5%. And then social interactions, that was very hard to measure, but the client said they estimate that it went up by 300% based on the system. They saw that their salespeople started to interact with each other, talk to each other, help each other, things in the blockchain world, how to do programming and all that stuff. And so we help them design a gamified exploration experience where you're in this cyberpunk futuristic world, and there's different districts, and you get to start. And a lot of the things are locked at the beginning. That's part of the scarcity. So, and you can see a chest that has requirements before you can open it, the daily streak, and you can see things are locked, the rewards are locked. And so people are more likely to engage with activity, to start unlocking things, because it feels a bit more like nudging. That's like, oh, there are so many things you can't have yet, as opposed to, hey, here's everything, here's 200 courses, go do what you want. And so luckily for this client, they actually did an A/B test. So they divided half the group, half their users to their old site that didn't have the gamified experience, and then half of the users to the new group, to the new site that had the gamified experience. And they saw that in the gamified experience, course completions went up by 350%. So before, only 10% of the students actually completed the course. Afterwards, 45% of the students completed the course. And time on platform was increased by 300%. And course completion time was reduced by 50%. So not only a lot more people completed it, they completed it at half the time than before. So this really made people complete courses. And we obviously know a lot of education has moved into the online space, and something like this becomes very, very valuable. Core Drive 7 is unpredictability and curiosity. So this is basically you're thinking about something because you don't know what's going to happen next. It's the gambling core drive, it's curiosity core drive. You see a lot of things like mystery box, you see things like Easter egg, all those things come into play with this core drive. And one of a pretty old case study that I wrote in my book already is the La Quinta Hotels and Lucky Diem. So La Quinta Hotels is a decently large hotel chain in the United States, and they wanted to also a way to engage their customers. So, and they reached out to Lucky Diem, who brought us in to help them gamify the experience. And so they delivered this platform called Play and Stay. So they got people to come in and use the app or use the site, and they start playing a spinning wheel game, and then they can earn some special points. But then after you win it, there's going to be says, hey, you will get an extra 10% if you answer these little questions about the company. And hey, they'll get another 10% if you refer your friends. And what they saw is that 34% of the users return daily, and they return for 3.75 minutes. So again, this is a hotel chain. And so most of the time, you don't come to a hotel's website or mobile app for 3.75 minutes every single day, right? Importantly, they saw bookings per user went up by 200%. So as people went and played this, they started booking hotel rooms, and revenue per user actually went up by $157, which is 132% against the control group. And then finally, they have a viral coefficient of 530%. What does that mean? It means at the beginning, they sent out a huge email to a lot of people to sign up to it. And I remember the numbers. I think they said about 2,000 people signed up to the program, but then, and they stopped doing any type of marketing. And the 2,000 people engaged with it. They start to bring in their friends. And at the end of the few months experiment, there were more than 10,000 people using the app. So therefore, the 2,000 people brought in the other 8,000, which is why we see the viral coefficient over 500%. Core Drive 8 is loss and avoidance. So this is basically you're doing something to avoid a loss. You don't want something bad to happen. It's the fear core drive, and it's again, quite straightforward. And one app that uses this core drive quite well is the Forest app, which is a company that I'm surprisingly based in Taiwan. I actually found out when I moved to Taiwan, I met the founders. But this is a productivity app where the goal, it's a countdown timer where you first select a tree, and then you set how many minutes, and then you press start, and the countdown timer goes. And you're supposed to focus on some productivity tasks. Once the time goes to 0, you complete the task, and it plants a tree into your forest. Now, the special treatment, what they did here was that if you get distracted and you start playing around with your phone, you actually will cause your tree to die. And it wouldn't just be like, oh, you failed your mission, too bad, let's start over. It'll actually plant your dead tree into your forest. So you're going to have to stare at your failure of being distracted for a whole year and feeling bad about it. And so this app, as of 2021, they had 40 million downloads, and very, very surprising, in a high ratio, 5 million users have been paying users. So very, very successful. Yeah, so again, that is the Octalysis framework. It's worth mentioning that everything we do is based on one or more of these 8 core drives. So if there's none of these 8 core drives there's zero motivation, no behavior happens. I highly recommend you learning more about it and applying these principles into the project you're doing in the hackathon and in all the future things. And I want you to remember that what you're doing is not just for a hackathon. This stuff, I believe, and I've seen, can really make a huge change in the world. And as long as more people do it correctly, I think the world becomes a better place with fun. And then there's a lot of things I'm not going to go in detail with, but the framework is divided into left brain versus right brain core drives, with the left brain core drives being things you do for a reward, purpose, or a goal, but you don't necessarily enjoy the activity itself. So once you obtain the reward, you stop doing it. So it's good for like attracting new people to come in. Whereas the right brain core drive deal with intrinsic motivation, where these are things you enjoy doing to the point that people are willing to spend money just to experience it. And even if they lost all their progress the next day, you would still want to do the activity today, because that's how we measure our quality of lives, how much time we spent on things we just enjoy doing. So a lot of gamified systems out there are, hey, here's a really boring thing you should do, but if you do this boring thing 1,000 times, you'll get this reward, right? Not so great. That's like a job, right? Most people don't think the job is so fun. Whereas like a game, you want to first design to be fun. And it's usually coming from core drive 3, 5, 7. Give them meaningful choices and creativity. Give them a social experience. Give them surprising, delightful moments. And therefore, the activity is fun. And then you say, once you do this fun thing 1,000 times, you do it really well, then you get the left brain rewards. You get badge, achievement, status, money, whatever. So this is good for getting users to enjoy the activities and have fun. And then top, we call this white hat gamification core drives. It makes people feel powerful, in control, they feel good, but there's no sense of urgency, so they procrastinate. And the bottom ones, we call them black hat motivation core drives. Basically, things that make people feel urgent, obsessed, sometimes even addicted. But a lot of times it could leave a bad taste in their mouths because they feel like they're not in control of their own behavior. So again, I'm not going to go into a lot of details on this. I have other talks out there that talk about this, but I wanna just say that this work that you're doing is important. It will make an impact, and I think it's great that you're participating in this hackathon. If you're interested in learning more about the Octalysis framework, you can check out my book. If you go to Amazon.com and you search for the word gamification, it should be the first result. And again, if you don't like to read or you want to go further, check out Octalysis Prime. So we say that this is basically like downloading my brain, because it's everything I've learned made onto the platform, 1,200 videos. I'm making more. We have 1 hour every week live coaching sessions where I help members improve their designs, their products, whatnot. There's an exclusive Slack group of people just like you. And what's interesting is, this is not on purpose, but 85% of the people we hire into the Octalysis group, the designers, consultants, came out of Octalysis Prime. And it's just because literally I dumped the best training material there. Everything I trained my own team, my own company on, I put it on Octalysis Prime, including like $1,000 3-day master class that I put there. And then once they join my company, I put them in front of clients like, Tesla, like Walgreens, like Microsoft. So obviously they're learning the best stuff. So something to check out, Octalysis Prime. So yeah, with that said, thank you, truly. I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with, using creativity and making the world fun and better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yukai. Thank you for this great presentation. That was very influencing for everyone. And looking forward to, I think many people first time heard about Octalysis and they will use their project. And if they have questions, we will try to help. But thank you again for this great presentation. And give our best wish to your group and Octalysis group workers like Joris, Berda, and Sabrina. They're all our friends too. So please give us our best wish, Yukai. Thank you very much.
Thank you.